And here we are. Welcome everybody to Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where the Silverline Pros share their wondrous wisdom and secrets and all the behind-the-scenes stuff that y'all want to know about. We got a crowded room tonight. We consider this sort of a part two of last broadcast's Wednesday Wham, which if you attended, you know we talked about timeless creations, mostly heroes. And it went on so long that, wow, we didn't have time for everything. So today we're going to continue, but we're going to talk about timeless villains and even the enduring element of comedy in comic books and in other media, as we always sort of touch base in film and cinema and other forms. Even novels were mentioned last time because we're all very well read here. Some of us. So before we get started, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our sponsors, the Daytona Beach Comic Convention, who is always very kind to us. How's everybody doing tonight? You got all your lights up, your holiday prep done? Everybody's ready to go, right?
For the most part.
Already rocking and rolling.
All my presents are bought. They just need to be wrapped.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
See, I love it. See, we're efficient, too. We're ahead of schedule.
Just got to get the tree.
Thing.
Got a few homemade items to make, but other than that, I'm
fantastic.
Yeah, I've actually got one. I'm still working on like that too, but it's purchased. It's just a matter of putting it together now.
Right. Well, before we get started, I just want to quickly introduce everybody. We have the legendary Rob Davis with us again tonight. I would say the veteran of veterans here. And Rob, this is a compliment, but has anyone ever told you you look like a famous film composer? Have you ever had that comparison made?
No, I have been compared to Willie Nelson, the guy Branson that owns Virgin Airlines, because I used to have my hair just come down to my ears. Now I have it in a ponytail. But I've been. The white hair does it. It makes you look like certain people. What was the other one? Was country singer sang with Dolly Parton. Dang,
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it.
Compared to him, I mean, he had a little bit of bagginess like I do. And
now he's got it all.
Yeah, he's like
this.
Some work done, right? Well, no. If you get a chance, look up one of my favorite film composers of all time is Jerry Goldsmith, and
I've seen some pictures of him. I really like his film work.
Mm-hmm.
Some beautiful melodies that he's come up with. I don't mind being compared to him.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We also have the inimitable Rory Boyle with us tonight, co-creator of Steam Patriots. We have the legendary Empress of the Inks herself, Barbara Kaelberg, with us tonight. And making a return to Wednesday Wham after an unexcused absence, Aaron.
Hey, Wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. I don't know what we did to alienate you, but whatever we did, man,
Let's do it again.
an excuse. So now he's in detention with us.
I know.
Back at the Breakfast Club.
Right. Well, without further ado, we'll just jump right in. Aaron, let's start with you since you weren't here last time.
Yeah,
I'll
throw him
put
to
you
the
on the
fire.
spot first.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on? Give us an example of what you consider a timeless villain. Okay, a timeless villain in comic books. It can be mainstream, it can be niche, and why you think that particular villain stands the test of time.
As in it's always relevant to the day? Is that what you're talking? I don't understand what you really mean by timeless.
Okay, I'll set the stage a little bit. Last week we talked about characters that lasted at least several decades in the mainstream comic book publishing world. characters like what you would expect, the superhero characters, Superman,
Yeah.
Batman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, X-Men.
Captain
And
America.
I
the
said Charlie.
discussion was fantastic, but it inevitably led to us talking about the villains and the foils of these characters. And there were a lot of good points made about empathy with the character, relatable character.
Mm-hmm.
The Marvel characters being the early superhero characters at Marvel were the ones who were like us, who had flaws and foibles. And so then again, we covered a lot of that territory. So what we wanted to do this week was talk about timeless villains. And what we generally did is we came up with a name and then sort of tried to explain why we thought they were timeless or why they had endured as long as they have.
I mean, I think Magneto was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I would agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he's relevant he's probably more relevant to American stances on history because of World War II. We consider him a villain. I don't know in other countries if his political leaning should be, in Germany and stuff, and I think Europe or whatever, but he is tied to a specific moment of history, being a Jewish survivor from the Holocaust, which paints his stance on why mutants should be ruling instead of like subservient or whatever. I think it's just endured because it's that war is still pretty fresh in our country. So I think that's why he's relevant. He's directly connected.
80 some years later, it's still relevant. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Not only that, I think he raises some good points, that resonates with some of the fans. They are more powerful than the average man. And a lot of people would say, I think that's awesome. I would love to be more powerful than, I've always been a picked on geeky kid. I would love to be the powerful one. Yes, I believe in Magneto's right. We should be the ones, dominating everybody else. We should be in control.
We should be the oppressor. We should be the oppressor.
Yeah, because we are the superior being. And obviously the right side of the equation says it's not right for anybody to be ruling anybody else. So there's always going to be those people who think that Magneto has got it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He has a point. He has a point. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, he's totally like, well, if they're going to try to exterminate us, we're going to exterminate them first.
Yep, it's
we
fight
carry
fire
a bigger
with
stick.
fire.
Yeah.
Yep. Fight
we
fire
carry
with
a bigger
fire.
stick than them.
I can see that. It's a
born out of
little
fear.
regrettable to me that the X-Men, I think, became a lot more like Magneto than Professor X. I liked their idealism in the early days where, despite being hated and despised by some of humanity, they would stand up and defend them anyway, which a little bit more of that nobility in the early days. But I completely understand where Magneto is relatable. Magneto reminds me a little bit of Dr. Doom, which I'll get into later. But before I continue on that, Rob, what about you? I'd love to hear your take on a villain, because I know it's going to be something really powerful. So go for it, man. Go for it.
You talked about Dr. Doom. If you want to talk about that a little later, I'll do the flip side of him over at DC, Darkseid.
Perfect.
Both of them created by Jack Kirby.
Yes.
And there was even a reflection of Darkseid back over to Marvel again with Thanos. I mean, there's some obvious, comparisons that can be made between Darkseid and Thanos. But Darkseid is of that same opinion of if someone's going to be in control, it's got to be me, because I know, I'm the one. I'm gonna, and his search for the anti-life equation that will put everyone under his control, and then of course the universe will be at peace because I'm in control. He's got quote unquote good reasons for being a bad guy, But and again, Thanos is the same way. He wants to wipe out half the universe so that half the population of the universe, so the other half can live better. Well,
Yeah.
that's fine. But what about those folks you just snapped into oblivion? So yeah, dark side to me is of the same ilk as Doctor Doom. There's their flaw is in their authoritarianism, that they think they know best how the universe should be run, or and they want to control everything, so that everything's at peace. And so there's some you can kind of sympathize with that, but it sometimes the methods are what make them the villain.
Yes, the methods and the collective mindset that many of them have, that idea of, screw your individuality. You just got to bow down to what we say because it's better for everybody, so that's another part that's troublesome. Hey, is that Floramonte trying to come in here?
Is he driving?
Uh-oh.
No, he's driving.
Howdy do.
How's it going, fella?
Chaos reigns.
How was your day?
Uh-oh, he's driving.
He's driving.
Let's see if I can get this working right.
A report.
Oh, yeah, driving again. Look, got a few minutes to jump on and say hello.
I'm glad you did. We're having a blast.
I just wanted to come on real quick and say, guess who just came and picked up some books?
Would it be Roland Mann himself?
It might be. Some Christmas books are starting to move. Woohoo!
It may even have been Santa who stopped by to pick up.
It could be Santa.
How about that?
Santa Man.
Awesome. That's pretty awesome. We're excited about. Obviously, the Christmas special is going to be packaged and sent out soon, right? Fill in all the stockings.
Yep. I know we printed we got the majority of the books. I know he's getting off all the Kickstarter stuff, and I'm not sure exactly, but I know all the Kickstarter ones are going out today, tomorrow. Not today. Today is already done, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know what day it is, but tomorrow and Friday. I don't know what day it is. What's today?
Today's Wednesday night, man. It's Wednesday.
Wednesday win. Woo woo. Wednesday win.
Indeed. Well, that's good news, man. That's good news. We are we're discussing favorite villains. So while you're on driving along, other than the people cutting you off in traffic, who's your favorite villain?
Well, of course it's Darth Vader. My favorite villain.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he's in
I guess. But really, look, I'm about to hit a car here.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. My favorite, lately, my current, modern favorite villain when he was a bad guy is Venom. I always like Venom. But Venom's good. But I don't think of the bad guys I tend, and we've talked about this on other shows and on this one and then on the Sunday show and stuff. If I had superpowers, I probably would be a bad guy.
Oh yeah?
I'm sorry.
Well, I know I would.
Yeah.
Wow.
I probably would be a bad guy. I don't know why. I just like the bad guys are so much cooler. They got the cool outfits. They got the cool I don't know if I would be a bad guy that would go around killing folks and stuff. Not that kind of bad guy, but I probably would do more of the the gray side of things than the good side.
Be true.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Why do you think Darth Vader is relatable?
Oh, love Darth Vader. When I saw him as a little kid, it's like, oh, Darth Vader. He's so cool. He's so cool.
Was it just the vision?
I love Darth Vader. I had a Darth. I remember saving up as a little kid, and I bought what is it? The blue. What is the name of the people that would do the actual helmets and stuff? The masks as I forgot the name of the company. I bought a Darth Vader mask. Remember, I've always been 6'6". Even when I was born, I think I was 6'6". And so when Star Wars came out and I was able to buy
So
that Darth Vader helmet. I had a whole Darth Vader costume that I made and stuff. I was Darth Vader.
You had the stature.
Love the bad guys.
You had the height and the bulk to do it, to pull it off.
So why do you think he's an enduring villain? What makes him enduring?
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's Luke's daddy. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good
because
point.
of his story arc. He starts as a good guy, becomes a bad guy, and then ends up as a good guy at the end. Is it that story arc that you think makes him timeless?
Or is it
we didn't know his storyline. We didn't know that he started off as a good guy. I don't even think Lucas actually knew that he was a good guy when the movies came out.
No, he was just supposed to be a bad guy. Period. Yeah, he wasn't even Lucas' dad when they first
so
it grew into that. It was a much better story that way, I thought.
Yes. Yep.
He wasn't.
That's a good question, Barb.
Character. Well, that's kind of what we're trying to go. What enduring here villains and why are they enduring? I think when he first appeared, he was like a one-dimensional character, but they fleshed him out.
Yep, I think once he got fleshed out, he was a much better character, and that's what made him timeless. I'm thinking that whole story arc is what makes him timeless.
Who did you guys say so far?
Aaron started out with Magneto.
Oh, yeah.
And then I piped in with Darkseid from DC.
So you're third. You have to kick in one.
So Darth Vader, yeah. So Darth Vader's your third. Okay.
Maximize.
And our host is back.
I'm back. I am troubleshooting audio tonight, which seems to be acting very, very strange. If any of you guys uploaded the new operating system for Apple, I think what I was probably supposed to do for my iPad was turn it off and turn it back on. But anyway, I can hear you guys. It just sounds like you're far, far, far away.
Yeah,
in a galaxy far
away, as a matter of fact. So, but that being said, let's move on to Barbara. Talk to me about your idea of the most timeless villain.
Well, I'm going to have to go with our favorite wackadoo, Joker.
Oh,
yes.
Who's that?
Joker. And the thing is, I cannot figure out why he's so endearing, because there's no redeeming qualities about him. But I think, he's insane, obviously, so I guess that gives him sort of a pass. What drove him insane? I don't remember. Was he abused as a child?
He's had a bunch of different origins. The one that sticks with me the most was when he got. It was essentially the one in the first Batman movie with Keaton. He gets knocked into a vat of chemicals and it bleaches his skin and all that. That's the origin I know of. He was a bad guy all along. It just drove him completely insane once that happened to him.
I think what makes him enduring is just that he's so far out there that he's unforgettable.
Yeah, he's the bad guy we love to hate. Mm-hmm. I think it's just he scares the crap out of me. The version that was in the Dark Knight series was
terrifying.
Was just scary as hell. He in real life he would be dangerous. He'd be number one. He's so smart he's hard to catch. And number two, he's so smart that if he decides you're dead, you're dead.
You're dead. Yeah.
If he wants you dead, you're dead. If you're maimed, he wants you maimed, you're maimed.
Exactly. We have a watcher here, Cameron Christopher Payne says Apocalypse was awesome. Survival of the fittest. What do you think about Apocalypse? Aaron, you're the resident X-Men fanatic. What do you think?
I didn't really read a lot about Apocalypse.
Me either.
Okay.
I read Claremont's run. He wasn't really in there. He always seemed like a cool character. I really only know villains maybe from the X-Men. I don't know many villains, superhero villains you guys are talking about a little. So sorry.
No, just wondered.
Yeah.
Mr. Boyle, talk to me, my friend. Roar. Your favorite enduring, timeless villain.
Well, I love thinking about things in that 30,000 foot perspective. If I have gun to my head and I had to pick a villain, it would be the Joker. Just before his pure effectiveness, and he's the type of villain that you categorize under insane. So he's so random, you don't know what he's so effective at, just causing chaos to cause chaos, and not not in your face at least have a direct reason why, which is that's like psychological warfare. It's terrorism. It's just striking fear. So it continues onward. You never know when he's going to strike or how, because he could be robbing a bank. They won't mess with the IRS. They won't do that. Or blowing up a bank just because, or
just because. Yeah, it's the random acts of violence and terror. And there's a level of there's another character in the DCU I'm sure you guys are familiar with called Anarchy. That's very similar.
Yes.
But what's fascinating about the Joker is he combines that dark humor blended with just chaos that makes it terrifying. And we could go down the rabbit hole of the archetype that he represents, the mythological archetype of the trickster.
Yes.
And this sort of idea of, don't take life so seriously because it's so, random. It's sort of that chaos theory villain in a way.
Yeah, he leans into the randomness of the universe. Yeah. The quantum villain.
Yes.
The quantum villain.
The quantum villain. Nothing matters to him, and that's what's scary. Is nothing matters to him.
No,
I think
not
he's
even
the only.
Not even his own life.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
Not even his own life.
Of evil. He's the only type of evil that doesn't fall into a category of, well, there's good and there's evil, but there's good, and there's privations of good. So most villains want something for the good. Like if you want to control everything, that's order and regiment taken to the extreme. Well, if you're
he's terrifying.
It's like systematic order that is oppressive, but Joker and that jokester, archetype is just insanity. It's chaos. You can't know it, and that's what's scary.
Right.
Because he's just doing bad things just for the fun of it. That's the kind of bad guy you don't want to have in real life.
Yeah, he's an adolescent writ large. He just reacts to whatever stimulus he's got at the moment and reacts and normally rather violently or chaotically, no matter what's thrown at him. So,
and then there are the scenes where you see him planning out an attack, planning out a heist, so he can be very methodical about it, but he can roll with the punches.
And ultimately, if you can't predict, it's difficult to set up countermeasures.
It's impossible to set up countermeasures. Yeah. Really,
and that's Batman's gig. So again, that makes him the perfect villain for Batman because chaos versus Batman's idea of order,
justice, and order,
and control.
And then every once in a while, he'll not kill somebody. He'll spare them, and so you're completely thrown off. Then,
bang.
yeah, you're like, what? Yeah. Okay, so I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. I've always thought Dr. Doom was an enduring villain because much like some of the others that have been mentioned, primarily Magneto, and to a lesser degree, Thanos, but Dr. Doom has an agenda, and he has an idea of what he wants to do, and he just doesn't want anybody to get in his way. And he's like this, royalty of, I run my own country, and it's like it's the emperor concept, but he obviously megalomaniacal, and
Yep.
Completely ice cold, not caring about who gets in his way. There's a level of humor to Doom, I think, that makes him appealing that some of the other villains don't have. And I'm not sure, Rob, maybe you can enlighten me on when he began to be written almost like the type of villain that talks about himself in third person, but almost like the sarcasm. You can hear Professor Snape from the Harry Potter films in Doom a little bit. You can hear Hans Gruber from Die Hard in Dr. Doom a little bit.
Yeah.
That sort of.
It's too bad we don't have that actor Alan Rickman around.
Yeah,
he
Alan
would
Rickman.
make a perfect Dr. Doom.
I think so.
I never given that thought. That's too bad he's gone.
Yeah,
he
was one of my favorite actors.
He'd be great.
Oh, he's a
great actor.
He's the only thing worth watching in Robin Hood. With
and Council
Kevin,
and they cut some of his scenes just because he overpowered the whole movie. But he's the only reason that movie works at all. He's such a great sheriff of Nottingham. But I think early on, again, I think he started as a one-dimensional character. Dr. Doom did, but as soon as they came up with his origin, where he ended up with a little scratch on his face, and that put him over the edge. He's such a narcissist that the fact that his face was no longer perfect threw him completely. He was crazy before, he was power mad, but that just put him right over the edge. And then, of course, he blamed Reid Richards, even though all Reid did was warn him what was going to happen. But anyway, that's when he started to become like that. And then there's one point in one of the issues of Fantastic Four where he's captured the Fantastic Four, and either one of his henchmen or another villain tries to take out the Fantastic Four instead of Dr. Doom, and he takes out the other guy. He says, "No, I have to be the one that takes them out, not you." And that's kind of where that took him down a different path, and I think that's where that particular aspect of him really took hold. And he started talking about himself in the third person, and that whole deal. And there's a point also at which it seems like he understood the humor of that as well. He kind of leaned into it. So I thought
that helps. That helps make him appealing and enduring, because that level of humor brings a nice tension relief and a foil to just him being dark all the time and saying dark things all the time. We have some fan comments that are great. Info fan says Mads Mikkelsen should play Doom.
I'll have to look up who that is. I'm not familiar with that name.
Oh.
He's the villain who played Le Chiffre in Casino Royale.
He was
the first Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and he played.
He was
Hannibal.
also Hannibal.
And the TV show.
And
Valhalla Rising was good.
Doom has never known defeat. Only setbacks.
Only setbacks. I mean, can you guys not hear Doom saying things like, "Mr. Takagi won't be joining us for the rest of his life"? You remember that from Die Hard? I mean, just that's the attitude. He should speak slowly, specifically.
Deep voice, that deep, rich voice.
Yeah. Oh, it's just brilliant. Oh, he would have been brilliant. But I like the Mads Mikkelsen idea. Another thought I had was the actor who played Aragorn would probably make a decent villain, although he's been imprinted on us as a hero. He might make a good Doom. I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones, but the actor who played Jaime would also, I think, make a good.
That would be pretty good.
Doom.
That would be good.
But again, the elements that we touched on before, in terms of empathy and relating to him, the thing about Doom that makes him so scary is, again, nothing stands in his way. But if there's an odd sort of sense to what he's doing, even though he's completely ruthless and deadly. There's an odd sense to it where it's like, well, he's just trying to protect his own country and do what's right for him, but he's,
If you're a D&D player, he's lawful evil.
Yes, I am a D&D player, and yes,
evil.
he is lawful evil.
Whereas
yes.
the Joker is pure chaotic.
Chaotic.
Yeah, completely chaotic.
I mean, he's all about protecting his people. So I mean, you got to.
Yeah, he's an authoritarian, but he also has fatherly feelings about the people of his country. So yeah.
That barrier.
Yes. The other element that adds a dimension to Doom, and again, this may have been added after his origin, was not only was he a scientific genius, a technical genius, but he also dabbled into sorcery.
Right.
So you had this nice blend.
That was part of the origin.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had this nice blend of technology and magic. And to my knowledge, that hadn't really been done in mainstream superhero storytelling. And a lot of people have now started to put together the pieces of how Doom inspired Vader. It's too bad Tommy's not on still, because I would rib him about that. There are a lot of parallels. Now that Disney owns Marvel and the Star Wars franchise, if Doom is ever brought on the screen, right? How cool would it be to have a couple of kids, maybe relatives of the Fantastic Four, talking like in the background, and one looks at the other and says, he looks like Darth Vader. And the other kid turns and says, Darth Vader looks like him. Right? Because really, Doom came way before Vader. So, I mean, there's always been that debate, but definitely Doom came before that.
Vader actually came after Jack Kirby moved over to DC, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because that was 71, 71, right in there. And Star Wars, of course, didn't come along until 77.
77.
So there's some of the things from New Gods is also kind of wrapped up in him as well. But there's a lot of Dr. Doom in Darth Vader.
Now, why do you think, I've asked so many of my colleagues this, and everybody has a different idea, but I want to open this up for discussion. Why do you think the Marvel Cinematic Universe still has not brought Doom in? Is it just simply the legal limitations they had with 20th Century Fox for a while that kept them from going there, and then Fox kept making these B- Fantastic Four movies with C- versions of Doom?
Just to keep the rights.
Why haven't they
just
gone
to hang on to the
essentially
rights? What they did. That's most of the reason why. Plus, at this point, how do you bring in what used to be, to my mind, was the linchpin of the whole Marvel universe, was originally the Fantastic Four. They were real early, one of the early creations, that Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and then the other characters were, but they seem to be like the hub of everything. That seemed to be Jack Kirby's baby. That he was the one that created most of the characters for the Marvel universe, but he always kind of held on to the Fantastic Four. That was his core storytelling for the Marvel universe. So I think pulling that aspect of them into the universe now is going to be really tough. Even with the multiverse idea, it's still going to be really tough to bring them in. It's going to take some hellaciously good writing in order to pull that off.
It's going to take some good writing. What they could do is bring them in from another dimension, traveling adventure across space and time, because Reid and the others would be doing that anyway, and have Doom wreaking havoc, and have him basically put down all the heroes on Earth, and everything seems bad, and then of course Reid and the family show up out of some sort of dimensional doorway, and we're introduced to them because we have to be. I don't know of another way to do it. I'd hate to do another origin, movie. Maybe there's a brilliant way to tell it through dialogue. I'm not sure about that, but
we have montage.
Montage,
or that's.
I think my film professor was tired of hearing me say that this whole semester, because I think once a week bring up, well, when in doubt, montage.
Well, that's really there's a whole. It's like Captain America, of course. We've talked about this before. He's one of my favorite. He's my favorite character, really. And there's a whole bit about a little over halfway through the film where he and the Howling Commandos. There's a montage of them doing a bunch of different stuff. There's a whole movie right there that you could do with just them fighting in Europe.
Because CCD Harris says, isn't it hard to balance the visual of Doom and a good story? I think that's why the Fantastic Four is difficult to put out there cinematically.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It is.
I don't think he's been done well visually or even story-wise yet, and I think it's because I don't think anybody's has really gotten what Doom is, and it is hard. It is probably hard to bring that from the comic book page and put it into cinema. I don't know. I think I think that comes down to good writing, and I don't think he's been written well yet.
Infrafan says, he is second in line to be Sorcerer Supreme. Even Doctor Strange said he could have the title if he wanted it bad enough.
Yeah,
I agree.
Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary?
Yes. He also, if you guys remember, Mignola illustrated a story way before he was doing Hellboy, where the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, and Doom went down to try to free Doctor Doom's mom from Mephistopheles, from the underworld. And they sort of teamed up to do that. And it's a fascinating story because, Doom is just doing a personal quest, so to speak. And you get the idea from Strange that, Doom could do this, which would be pretty scary. You're right.
Yeah. But he's not interested.
Yeah. Right. Cassisi says, X-Men is kind of relatable, but having Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, and Doctor Doom, that may be too much on the screen at one time if there isn't a strong story. Yeah, the writing would have to be right.
Cassisi, that's my point. I don't think anybody's come up with a good enough story yet to make it work.
Yeah. Infrafan says, I can wait as long as I need to if it means the MCU gets Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer right. Galactus and Doctor Doom are huge. Plus, the MCU tends to one-off their villains, and you can't do Doom that way. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do him that way either.
Doctor Doom could be like the Hulk is. You could do one story with him, but he can't. It's hard to get him to carry his. Yeah, the Hulk never really did quite carry his own book for a while early on, and they had a hard time getting him right in his own individual movies. He was much better when he could play off the other people, and he didn't have to be carrying the whole story. I thought he was great in Thor Ragnarok.
He plays off of Thor really well in the movie.
Yeah, those two play off each other really well. I think Doom would be like that. And again, you can't. He's such a powerful villain. You can't kill him off. He would. No. He was killed off in his first appearance, quote unquote, and then the next time he came back, they explained how he escaped. But I think he was originally supposed to be just a one-off, and then suddenly, wow, he's really, this is a good character. Let's bring him back. So.
Well, they didn't kill Loki off.
No, that's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
He managed to escape.
I think,
yeah.
He was better as
thing.
First of all, he's Thor's brother. You know, you can't. He's not gonna. Thor's not gonna kill his brother, even if it's a stepbrother or a, you know.
He was only defeated for a little while. He managed to. So that would work if they did it to Doom. That they managed to defeat him momentarily.
Chain him to a rock somewhere.
Yeah.
Like Loki was. Yeah.
Yep. Drip acid in his eyes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you guys remember the old Dracula movies, that's the way I see Doom. Like, you beat him at the end, but then he always finds a way to come back.
Yeah, somebody drizzles virgin blood on him, and he comes back on his bones.
It's hard to find these days.
Or he comes back through a time portal. You know, because he would be able to outsmart even Kang the Conqueror. You know, on how to jump through time to save himself.
There's some thought that he actually is Doom. The Kang is Doom. You know,
that's
or a
interesting.
descendant of Doom,
or a descendant of
Reid
Doom.
Richards, or you know, there's a whole. He's kind of like the Joker. He's had so many different origins. Which one's the right one? But Kang is another character that I find fascinating. It kind of fits into
tell
this
us about.
Well.
Tell us why you like Kang, Rob.
Well, he's got that same kind of arrogant. You know, I'm from the future. I'm more powerful than you. You know, you're just fleas, and you should bow down and worship me. He's very Doom-like in that respect, and he brought the Avengers. He defeated them. He completely defeated them. And if I recall correctly, it was Rick Jones who saved the Avengers at the end. It was the weakest quote-unquote member of the team who actually saved them. So I found that whole story fascinating. But you had to have a character like that's very Doom-like, and that, you know, he's very arrogant, authoritarian, and had all this technology that couldn't be overcome, even by Tony Stark. That it made him I thought it made him an interesting character.
It does. Infrafan says, even when you beat Doom, it's not Doom. It's a Doom bot. You know, it's always a Doom bot, right?
The thing that always stands out for me for Doom is speaking in the third person. That makes him stand out from the rest of the crowd. Is that he's always talking about himself in the third person, and I just get such a kick out of that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, all right, that leads me to this idea. Okay, part of the enduring nature of Doom and the villains we've discussed is we understand a level of their intentions, even though we may not agree with their methods. But there's a level of intelligence to these characters that we admire on some level. And that brings me to this. I love getting people's take on this. Name the top 3 most intelligent characters in the Marvel U. Just sort of off the top of your head, like go the top 3 biggest brains in the Marvel U. Anybody can just throw it out there.
Reid Richards.
Yep.
Tony Stark and
Reid
Princess
Richards.
Shuri.
Yes.
Now, Princess Shuri is a
in
recent ad, right?
Yeah, in the MCU, yeah.
Okay. In the MCU. Okay. So if we keep going down, right, you have to bring in, I believe, Peter Parker and Victor Von Doom.
Yeah. Although, I mean, you're talking about Doom hasn't been in the actual MCU yet. He's in the Fox universe. So, I mean, if you want to talk about Marvel period comics and movies,
cinematic universe, it would. Well, Hank Pym too, but
Henry
I
Pym,
think
Hank Pym too, Cece. Good call.
I looked this up not too long ago. Supposedly that Shuri is actually the smartest ever so far. The top brain in the MCU.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense
based on the technology. So, but would you guys put Reid Richards, I guess, second now? I mean, he's got to be up there, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to be.
He has
He's
to be, yeah.
Should be Reid, and then maybe Tony is number 3 now.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yep.
Barb, what do you think? Is he number
I would
3 on
put
the
Tony
list?
second, but that's just because I'm a Tony gal. So
Yeah,
right.
I put Shuri, Tony, Reid, Hank is the way I go. And Hank.
Well, you got to put Bruce Banner in there too.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he's
not quite on. He's not on Tony Stark's level. No,
he's
not quite
a
there.
niche. He's a niche brain. He's got his
Right.
own niche.
Yes.
Whereas Tony can read, as we saw, he became an expert on astrophysics overnight. He read up on it overnight and became
That's the power of Wikipedia.
He's got like 7 PhDs or something like that. Bruce Banner doesn't have that.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so let's segue now into comedy. And what comedic, it can be a character, it can be a situation, it can be, but what comedic themes or characters have just made their mark? Let's start with comic books. We can then move on to movies. But Aaron, I want to pick your brain a little bit on that too. Like, what about comedy? Like either a character, a situation, a theme that endures for you, and why?
I like The Tick.
That was probably, good one.
That was probably my only comedic. I like Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, really good. Good calls.
Other than that, I don't know. I don't really get too much humor. I get like comic strips, like comic books, not really. I have a very dry sense of humor, and that's very hard to come across in comics sometimes.
It is. Yeah.
So it doesn't always work.
I have a very dry sense of humor.
Deadpan. That's hard. That's hard to pull off in comics. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Because I cannot. It's easy to do slapstick in comics, but I hate slapstick.
So usually
for me, a manner of torture was to watch the Three Stooges. Scooby-Doo made me cringe. I didn't like that either. My humor is very dry and witty, sarcastic.
There was an animated cartoon, Barb. I don't know if you guys remember this from the 90s called Dr. Katz. You remember that?
Yeah, he was a psychiatrist.
He had a very psychiatrist, right? Had a very dry sense of humor, and that struck me as sort of what you're talking about, Aaron, in terms of just that sort of dry wit where there would be a quiet beat and he would just stare at the camera, Yeah. And it's just, it would work, because you have that comedic beat after something absurd happens and then no response and just his face. Is very much the Bob Newhart approach. Rob, you remember Bob Newhart, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a reaction comic. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And my hearing, it's like somebody beating on the drums.
Yeah, it sounds like we're in the bottom of an aquarium.
You're right. Cassisi says Deadpool and Spider-Man together.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yes.
I have to agree.
And
Mask.
Fan says
He was
going
to
come
Mask.
up.
Yeah, the Mask. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Rory,
the absurd.
What about you, Rory? I know you got some comedic ideas here. You and I've talked about Monty Python so much.
Oh man,
I know.
I was actually thinking about that when you said dry humor.
Judd Parrott.
I know.
If you adapted Monty Python and the Quest of the Holy Grail into a comic, you'd abruptly have a horror because you wouldn't be able to understand.
Right.
Because it's just it's the delivery and the timing and
it's something. Comics are a great medium, but there's certain things it can't do, and I believe that's one of them.
Yeah,
is that kind of dry humor? It can be done, but it has to. It's really tough.
It has to be that quick, witty, pithy retorts like Iron Man does so well. He's always got something in the barrel ready to shoot out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think if you're looking for gentle humor, you're going to have to go with Bone.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good
Venom's
call.
pretty.
Good call.
It's got
Yeah.
and the a little bit of sarcastic, gentle humor with Calvin and Hobbes. I love Calvin and Hobbes.
My favorite comic strip of all time. Yep.
I think irony
Doonesbury.
goes a long way.
Doonesbury. How about Doonesbury, Aaron?
What?
How about Doonesbury? That was very
Doonesbury,
politically
yeah.
sarcastic.
I always liked as an Outland or
Yes.
Bloom County. I thought.
Berkeley Breathed. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I liked him.
Ooh, Gary Larson, The Far Side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's dry humor.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like
but
the
it's
Far
short.
Side.
Side's dry
Always
humor.
short.
Yeah.
I did
one
read a
panel.
pretty
Yep.
entertaining comic called Skull Kickers that was pretty funny.
Good point. Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok movies were very
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, those salvaged
Yeah, this is-
everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good
Excellent point.
Good point.
Rocket was my favorite. He was the funniest, I thought.
I never laughed so hard when I went into Thor Ragnarok. From like the first scene, it was funny.
Oh yeah, the use of Zeppelin right there at the beginning, and
Yes.
Thor talking to
All right.
Surtur.
I'm going to have to get that out and rewatch it now.
Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since the theater, so I'm going to have to get it out and watch it. I have the DVD.
It's really fun. So
Yes.
you guys think dry humor then doesn't work as much on the printed page, certainly in our field, in
It's
the comic book
tough.
field.
It can be done, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's more the pithy remarks that Bendis can write off the cuff. The sort of Buffy the Vampire Slayer tone, that playful, who's going to be the smarty pants in the room, that can be done and is done well, in comic books. It can be overdone too. I mean, because not everybody should be able to outsmart, Spider-Man, I think, or Tony. Maybe Tony and Spider-Man in one room would be hilarious. They could wisecrack each other.
It's hard to convey, say, the humor of Trevor Noah onto the printed page. You have to
Right.
I mean, you have to hear him.
Yeah, how do you convey sarcasm?
Yeah, because he does. I love Trevor Noah.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
It's,
I'm actually listening to his audiobook right now, Born a Crime. It's excellent.
That title alone.
Born a Crime.
You have to know him and know his history to get that.
He was born during apartheid. He was born during apartheid.
Yes.
He was born from a white father and a black mother, and so he was actually born a crime. It was illegal.
Yeah. His parents were always getting arrested.
His book is hilarious while being serious at the same time. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's perfect for that show.
Do you guys remember a stand-up comedian named Stephen Wright?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Same kind of humor, like this sort of dry delivery one-liners. My favorite line, I'll never forget it, where he says, "It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it." Right? So, again, that only works, like he's got to deliver it, right? That wouldn't really work on
that really
dry,
droll.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a genius. He's a freaking genius.
Yeah.
I can think of a character that encompasses both subjects of tonight's podcast, the villain.
Okay.
Oh, please. Enlighten us, please.
I think it's Golem, aka Schmeagol, from the Lord of the Rings series.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a good point.
He's such a pathetically he's such a pathetic little creature, and he does this, like, sings, "My fishy, I have a fishy," and he's funny, but he's also the villain. But he's got such a pathetic backstory,
Yeah.
He was at one time he was Schmeagol. He was human, and through hundreds of years of having the ring, he turns into this golem, and he's actually a villain, but he's such a pathetic little villain.
Yeah, it's sort of a a mentally ill character.
Yeah, he's the guy you can't turn your back on.
No, because he'll bite
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, he's a villain because he will kill you at the drop of a hat. But on the other hand, he's like kind of funny.
He's really funny. Yeah. You can't help but laugh, but be repulsed.
Exactly.
He's a unique character in that respect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes him timeless. Again, there's an unpredictability to him that endures. Of course, anything out of Tolkien's universe endures because of the mythological archetype and the foundation underneath it. Tolkien was a professor in Oxford who set out to create a Western European version of the Greco-Roman mythology that he felt it wasn't so much that it was lacking. It wasn't that at all. It was that it hadn't been recorded and kept because there were legends of fairies and creatures in Western, or orcs and goblins and trolls. That was all in Western Europe, but no one had bothered to organize it and write it down. And he ends up creating not only a mythical world that resonates, but also a language. I was blown away that the screenwriters of the films actually deciphered the ancient Elvish language to use in the films, and it's like, okay, guys, y'all are. Yeah. Yes.
I actually have a translate on here somewhere. I bought a replica of the ring. Yeah, it's got Elvish written on the inside.
I want that so bad.
Nice. Oh, it's so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, one of my favorite books, by the way. But again, the villain in that story, besides Gollum, would be Sauron the Great, right?
But he's kind of a one-note character, don't you think? He's just like all-encompassing evil.
Well, in the end, he became that. But if you know his backstory, he was one of the high elves on the level of Elrond, but even older. And he basically was very much like Doom, and then he forged a ring to dominate all the other rings. So he was a master of sorcery. And basically he was an elf.
I didn't know that.
I thought he was a precursor, was the Numenarians? Wasn't he one of those?
Silmarillion?
Yes, Silmarillion. He was before that, Rob. He was actually an elf, and he he basically was like, well, if you guys are gonna have all these magic rings, and I'm gonna have the one that controls every one of them. So it's kind of like stepping out to bring order and dominance, but then again
authoritarian,
corrupted by the power. So because it's an epic fantasy and because we're using archetypes, the ring corrupts him as well and turns him into this dark thing. The 9 riders, the ring wraiths, were humans corrupted by the ring.
Yeah, the Nazgul.
The Nazgul, right. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't start out as villains either. They were just
the ring
power-hungry men.
Yeah,
right,
the rings
right.
corrupted
them.
Ultimate
so one could even
corrupts.
argue... Absolutely, right.
Yep.
One could even argue that the villain of the Lord of the Rings...
Absolutely.
Correct. One might even argue that the villain of the Lord of the Rings was actually an inanimate object. It was the ring. Now, of course, the desire to create the ring was Sauron's desire. But
interesting. As I understand it,
Yes.
Hey, Brent's in here.
Welcome, Brent.
Brent's in the hall.
In the house. Brent, welcome, my friend.
I'm in my house.
You walked in. You walked in just as we were talking about Sauron creating the One Ring to rule all the other rings.
Yeah, my understanding of that was that Sauron put part of himself into the ring, and when he was defeated, another portion of him died as well. So there's only just essentially just the thought is all that's left of him and the ring. which is so he's trying to get that ring back because part of him's in there. So yeah, that's why he's a one note toward the end. If you go back in the Silmarillion and all that, you find out there's more to him than that. Even reduced as he was still a formidable evil that was tough to defeat. So he's only how unimaginably powerful was he when he was all of one, when he was without losing parts of himself. He would be one scary badass.
Yeah, there's a wonderful scene in the film that was done very well in both versions. Even Ralph Bakshi's version did it pretty well, but the live action version really encapsulated the temptation of Sauron through Galadriel when she explains that she could have had the ring and been a dark queen, right? And you see for a moment this dark vision of her as a female version of Sauron. And, you know, she says something very poetic like, beautiful and terrible as the sea, all would behold me and despair, right? So you get that idea that all would love me and despair, exactly. And so you get that idea that she would be so corrupted, but her beauty would be so compelling that she would just, you know, glamour plus 10, no saving throw, right? She would just be taken in completely and become her thrall, you know, and that's
that was something when I read the books I didn't get about her, but that was brought out in the movies that I went, ooh, I didn't see that. So, but I read that thing. We're talking. I read that back in the 70s, the early 70s. It was 70, 71 is when I read it. So it's been a long time ago, and I wasn't as experienced in the world as I am now. So there's if I could get through the books, I've tried it, and I can't get through them now. I had a hard time back then.
They're a tough read.
They are a tough read.
They are a tough read. They're written by a professor who's lecturing.
If you can get your mind in the right place, they're very rewarding. But it's tough for me to get my head in that place.
Oh yeah. Well, Brent, since you're joining us now, share with us your idea of it can be a comic book, it can be cinematic, of a timeless villain. You know,
I love the comment here at the bottom. One of these 6 people is into fitness. Can you at home guess which one? Send your answers into Silverline. To win.
Isn't that great?
It was a gift.
I love it.
That's great.
Very good.
So I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Sorry.
What kind of tacos do you like?
I couldn't let that scroll off. Sorry.
All of them.
What's your favorite taco? No. We're gonna get taco. What is it, Del Taco, to be our sponsor one day? It's gonna be great.
Yes, I'm owed.
Your favorite villain? Why they've endured for as long as they have, either in publications, it can be literature, it can be comic books, and why do you think they've lasted so long as a villain?
You know, I'll bet you posted that question earlier, and I could have prepared.
Okay. Indeed.
Well, it's better to come off the top of your head anyway. Really.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, I'll give you a couple. Dracula is pretty cool.
Dead and loving it?
Villain.
Yeah.
In part
because...
What? Yeah. He's evil, and yet in a way he can't help it. So there's always that angle. You know, when you have all the vampire movies and whatnot, usually you just have bald-headed freaks that are just ripe for the staking. But then you have Dracula, who's like, I don't want to be this way. I don't like, on the other hand, he's also got the superiority complex going on, which says, actually, if I got to kill, which I do, I'll just kill everybody. So, at one point, do you ever wonder if he's like, it would probably be better if I died. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's been around for a while.
Dracula's evil out of boredom. Yeah, there's something.
But what's fun about
there's something to that, Infrafan.
There is one cool thing about him, though, is he's kind of like Sherlock Holmes in that he is ripe for reinterpretation. And that's why you can see a dozen Dracula movies, and they're different. There was
Very
a
different.
miniseries by the guy who did Sherlock, which was also different too. So there's a lot of ways you can play around with him.
It's funny, he was created about the same time as Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
just a little later, but not by much.
Yeah. So I like him. I kind of like Dr. Doom, and in part because I'm trying to think of other, and I'm sure they're out there, other comic villains who are genuinely so, they have so much faith in themselves that frankly, it makes sense that they're in charge. In fact, it's dumb for anyone else to be in charge.
Interesting.
Interesting. There's like a what if story. I don't know if you guys remember this. What if Dr. Doom was a hero? Did you guys ever get a chance to read that?
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
I think the upshot was at the end, he was like, I'm sorry, that in the end, everyone has died but me, or something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing. But, it's me. So what are we going to do? And
it's me. So, yeah.
So, we're fine.
Very interesting. There was John Byrne did an issue of Fantastic Four. This you guys might remember. It's the cover of his hand ripping the cover off. Do you guys remember that? It's pretty cool. But so it's just about Dr. Doom in this issue, and he's just doing Dr. Doomy stuff, and it's awesome. But he also has an adopted son, and he's really a good dad, and they're having lunch, and then his son just happens to say, you should talk to Magneto, because it's been rumored that Magneto's as smart as you are. And Doom says, what did you just say to me? And he says, no one is as good as Doom. Now the kid's like 10, so you're like, wow. But there's and that thought just really makes me want to see more of Doom. So I don't know.
Yeah. We've already discussed Doom and he's got so much depth. We could probably just talk about him for the rest of the time. Yeah, there's so much about him.
We talked about it was a shame that we had lost Alan Rickman, because we wanted Alan Rickman to be the voice of Doom, So, just being sarcastic and talking real slow and talking down to everyone. And I'll never forget Professor Snape's comment after he questions Harry Potter in the first movie in front of the whole class. And, do you know what this is? And Harry's like, no, sir. Do you know what this? No, Professor. Do you know what this is? No, Professor. Mocking how well known he is. And in typical Alan Rickman fashion, he concludes the questioning with, clearly fame isn't everything. And it's just like this needle right in Harry's.
And his delivery is
ripping
perfect.
somebody.
Yeah, his delivery.
Yeah.
I'd say Hugo Weaving, if he wasn't already Red Skull, would be good.
Yeah,
he can pull it off.
There's nothing about the Red Skull that's really funny, but Alan Rickman was awesome as any villain he ever played. And you hated him, but you loved to hate him. Like the Red Skull, you just want to drop a truck on that dude. So
I mentioned the Sheriff of Nottingham in that really badly done Robin movie.
Oh,
he's the only thing in it that's redeeming. Yeah, that's his performance in that is just superb.
Yeah,
excellent.
Somebody should do a clip from that movie and just put Doom's mask on they do on these funny memes.
Christmas?
They're saying cancel Christmas. Yeah. Oh, that'd be just so great. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah. So Doom keeps coming up as a favorite. And I think a lot of it is because he combines what we've been talking about, a sense of relatability, but also a sense of humor. In his case, anyone who doesn't understand what he's doing is an idiot, and he's not, he doesn't care about just telling them straight up. He teamed up with, I believe it was in Dark Avengers. I don't know if any of you guys read that storyline, but Doom temporarily teams up with Norman Osborn, who's become like a dark version of Iron Man, called the Iron Patriot. And they do some time travel, and they go back in time, and it's Doom alongside Norman Osborn, and Norman's complaining about how uncomfortable it is to time travel, and he doesn't understand. He says, don't understand this time travel. It gives me a headache. And Doom just turns to him and goes, that is because you're an idiot.
Did you guys ever read?
Okay.
There was an old Avengers graphic novel called Emperor Doom. Did you guys ever read that?
No, never heard of it.
I remember it, but I can't remember whether I've read it or not. I mean, yeah.
I think I remember seeing it.
It's really good. I actually found it at a con a few months ago. It's a story where Doom actually manages to get a hold of the Purple Man. And his power is that he can make you do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So he builds a giant crystal, plugs the Purple Man in, and basically subverts the whole world. But there's
the anti-life equation.
Yeah. There's a scene. There's a part where the Purple Man is in this, crystal prison, and says, "If I just had a moment, I could totally just enslave you like anyone else. Your power is nothing." And Doom says, "Is that so?" And he walks into the crystal and takes his faceplate off and just stares at the Purple Man. And the Purple Man is like, "Okay, let me go. Kill yourself." And Doom says, and he puts his mask on and says, "Now, who deserves the power again?" And you're like,
"Ooh, that's great."
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
where did he get a doctorate from
Brent?
anyway? Has anyone ever asked?
What's that?
Where did he get his doctorate?
Where did he get his
I didn't go to evil medical school to be called Mr. Evil.
I think it was like like Napoleon. It was self-given. He put that on himself.
Yes.
He crowned himself.
Victor. Well, we were talking earlier too about the big brains in the Marvel U, and they were talking about Reid. And Victor and Reid are probably close to, I would say, the same level as far as intelligence. Although, in some ways, Doom has an edge because he's a sorcerer. Yeah. So, I don't know if Reid's got that talent. So Doom might have an edge. I can name another character that's got
Doom
that.
Actually has made mistakes, and Reid calls him on them, and then Doom says, "You don't know what you're talking about. I'm better." And then he does something, and it blows up in his face, sometimes literally, and then the Fantastic Four has to step in. So
and then he blames then he blames Richards.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's his. Yeah.
Doom.
Brilliant. Okay, so Brent, have you seen the latest Ghostbusters film?
No, I haven't. My wife and I almost went over the weekend, for which I deserve some honorable mention of credit.
Oh, yes. Barb was telling us last week that it's excellent, and that you have to sit through halfway through the credits. Because there's a stinger, right,
that's
Barb?
Right. I remember you mentioning that, yeah.
There's an Easter egg halfway through the ending credits that you got to stay for.
Well, I want to bring that up, but I want to get you guys' take on some of the characters that you're creating for Silverline, because it's a great time to sort of plug our own creations here. And what have you guys used from these enduring characters to put into your own characters. Aaron, you've got some timeless godling beings that are very mythical and epic, and but you've also made them relatable.
Yeah,
What's your
a little bit.
favorite of that of your characters? Tell us about like your favorite character in your universe of godlings.
Oh,
I would say because
oh,
that's the one I know the most about.
yeah, I don't really know if I have a favorite. I mean, it's more of a story about me and what I went through, which sounds kind of weird considering the subject matter.
Right. You were
But
on another planet for a while, and
no,
It happens to the best of us.
no, it's
Yeah.
about loss, and that's what I went through.
Right, grief.
So that's the
Yeah.
overarching theme of the story, and how you deal with that, how you come to terms with that. So I guess Boomer, my main character, would be my favorite, but he's basically me. He's basically reflects what I went through. That was always the goal. As far as other characters, I don't know. I like Doom. I have a character named Doom, not Doctor Doom, but Doom. He's only 2 parts of the book. But other than that, I don't know. I like them all. I mean, they're all my characters, so I mean, they're all aspects of the story. So,
right.
But I don't really have villains in my story per se. Not the way you guys are describing villains. So I have, I guess, maybe victims, but I don't have villains. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. One of Alan Rickman's famous quotes was, "I don't play villains; I play interesting characters." So for whatever that's worth.
And there's no small roles, just small people.
Yeah, just small. Exactly right. So, Rob, what about you in terms of characters you're creating or have created or have illustrated that you feel fit into the mold that we've been discussing? A timeless and enduring villain that tell us.
Well, if we're talking about characters that we've created, the one that I have invested the most in is Twilight Grimm, in that he's kind of a stoic character, but there's something behind that. We see him in one story. We see him as a little kid, and he's already this very stoic character who's out killing vampires with just a knife. So, but even though I didn't really know what the backstory is, I still don't. But I know there's something there. So, when you're drawing it, you try to put some of that into it so that you get that feeling that there's more to this story than we're seeing. But what is it? There's all that nice anticipation of not quite understanding, but knowing something's there, but not knowing all the details. And in my visual depiction of him, I always tried to keep that in mind. That one of the reasons he's so grim all the time is he's been driven to do what he's done by something that's happened in his past, either to him or someone that he loves, or something around him has happened to cause him to be this way. But we don't know exactly what that is. It's hinted at a couple of points. I think I might have sussed it out, but it's never laid out there, and that's the power R.A. Jones as a writer has, is to have. He's got that going on, and he can drop you little clues, but you have to really be paying attention in order to catch them. But that's the character
excellent.
Twilight Grimm. I'm investing that sort of feel to him.
Yeah, it's always a challenge as the artist to imply without giving the whole story away, right?
Yeah,
implying it.
I worked for Marvel for a very short time before they bought Malibu. After that, I worked for them indirectly, but I worked on 3 issues of Pirates of Darkwater, And I didn't hear this directly
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that the cartoon was really good, and the
Mhm.
artist who worked on it before me
Scared me as a child.
did not even try to draw it like it was like the TV show. He did it more Marvel style. And I came in and did the last 3 issues of it, and I asked for the model sheets. I was very careful about drawing it so it looked just like the TV show. Well, I didn't hear this directly from the editor, but later on I heard from a third party that he said my artwork was too quiet.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah, well, exactly. What the hell does that mean? I think it's because I didn't do the foreshortening stuff and all that wild and crazy stuff. I went more for a kid's comic book look to the book, because that's essentially, I thought that's who they were trying to appeal to with it. And I went for more of the look of the cartoon series that I did, trying to make it into a quote unquote Marvel comic book. But I think I think my strength as a storyteller is subtlety. Getting putting subtle things into the characterization of the characters themselves. I'm always looking for a subtle way to do something. Now I can do it in your face if when I want to and when the story calls for it. But I prefer for it to be more subtle than that. You have to really pay attention to get it all.
That's good.
I like
that's cool.
I
I like that approach, because you have plenty of comics where it's all in your face and big and loud, and to actually have something where you see it and maybe you don't see, maybe you turn back and look at it again
and you go,
and it resonates.
That's why he did that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Brent, what about you, my friend? Character created for Silverline, perhaps, that you hope endures as long as Victor Von Doom?
So we're talking villain, right?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. Not necessarily. It can be a villain, but it can be your leading character. I just wanted to give you a chance to, promote your book.
Right. Well, actually, I'm creating one. He has not been seen yet. He's going to show up in Kalis issue, the second series, issue 1, which is already written and is actually halfway drawn.
Oh,
so
cool!
That's coming along really
nice.
Yeah, but his name is Dorian, and he comes from the world on the other side of the Kalis Rift, which is where our astronauts went, disappeared for so long, and came back, and is in the 5th or 1st issue. I don't exactly know how to call it. In the next issue, he actually comes to Earth, and our astronaut heroes have some kind of invulnerability that keeps them from being they can't get hurt by being shot or stabbed, but he actually brings a way to kill them. So he'll kind of hopefully uptick the stakes, but he's a representative of a very of a government that's basically enslaved to this world on the other side of the rift, and he just has this very what am I trying to say? He basically has no regard for life at all, and just kind of looks at everything as if it's a game where he has killing anyone he wants and just in it for a good time. So he's not like the Joker, who always seemed more like he was just an aberration to society. This guy is firmly a societal tool. It's just not our society. So
okay.
I'm having a good time writing him, and I think Lewis was pretty imposing and a cool fighter, and basically we'll have Eventually, and this was laid out in the first arc of Kalis. The story is told from the perspective of Scott Anders, but there were actually 5 astronauts that went, and you will see him fighting all of them and basically kicking the crap out of all of them. So that I'm hoping will be pretty fun.
It sounds cool. This is like your Moriarty, you know?
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Who we didn't bring up, oddly enough, but maybe another time. Barb, what about you? An enduring villain that maybe will live on in infamy?
Well, my villain is actually villains, and I think this is kind of relevant for today's conspiracy theorists. They'll resonate anyway. I have an evil, shadowy cabal that you really don't see. You don't really know who they're working for or what their agenda is at first. But they're an international cabal. And if you're a QAnon theorist, they would love that. But they had their
or
agent,
Illuminati.
Yeah.
Like
or Illuminati, or there's like
Knights
a
Templar.
dozen conspiracy. Yep, there's like a dozen conspiracy theories out there that would fit this particular mold. So it's right up there with all the nut jobs today. But let's just call it how it is. But the face of that cabal is their enforcer, Mr. E. And E is just simply for enforcer. He's a mysterious, he has no past. You can't find him in any database. His fingerprints aren't on file, that sort of thing. So he's the face of the cabal that does their dirty work on the ground. And he's very nondescript. So he looks like your everyman. You would walk by him on the street and he wouldn't really stand out. And that's the way he wants it. He unless he's deliberately trying to be imposing, he takes off the sunglasses and the long duster that he wears and just walks down the street. You'd pass him and never notice who he is, and that's deliberate. But he's very cold-blooded, and people who actually ever find out his real name disappear, that sort of thing. So Mr. E is the physical force of he's the boots on the ground of our evil, shadowy cabal, and he's the one that you will see.
He's the 007. He's their James Bond. Yeah.
He's their James Bond. That's pretty cool. Rory, we'll close out with you, my friend. You're enduring.
I got the easiest one of them all.
Okay, go for it, my friend.
Nobody's worse than the English. Except
King George.
I think Peter's not
King
here.
George.
Yeah, I'll fight him.
Off with their heads.
Well, I mean, since we're keeping so true to story, historically accurate, all the generals and admirals that are historically there, those are bad guys.
Some
and then
of them
that
assholes too.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
Arrogant.
And just that classic red uniform just makes them stand out all the more.
Yeah.
You know exactly what it is.
Oh yeah.
So they did it to themselves.
That's perfect. Yes. Just being British, right? Just having a British accent alone.
That's why all the Nazis
We don't
have
love
a
our
British
British.
accent.
We love our British audience. Don't take
yes.
offense, but we're just being historical here. At a time when Americans didn't like our allies, that they weren't so fun to be around.
Right.
As a culture, we're very confused about the British. We think they're all smarter than us because of their accents. And yet we also like to talk trash about them because of the whole.
And a lot of villains have British accents.
Yes. Well, I'm historically half English, so my heritage. So I actually like the English, but
yeah, my great grandfather was a Tory during the Revolutionary War. So it got kicked out of the country to Canada. So
my Irish side is screaming.
Yeah, my ancestors were stonemasons from Lincolnshire. They built Tattershall Castle.
Wow.
we've got to have a heritage show, guys. This is just really getting cool. I mean, we share all kind of cool stuff. But it looks like the time is drawing to a close. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank everybody for watching. Again, thank Daytona Beach Comic Convention for being our sponsor. And as we always do, it's our tradition here at Silverline Wednesday Wham to close out with our motto, and some of us even having an image. Make mine Silverline.
Silver.
See everybody next week.